Okay, I want to talk today about how exponential functions and banking. So I'm not sure like how many people know exactly how a bank operates, but the bank really works in this one way. Basically, banks make money from doing one thing. So here's a bank. And here's Mr. Kurth.
Put the money on the table.
And here are you guys. So what happens is the bank says, well, maybe you all have some money that you've made, you're working or something, and you're like, well, I don't just want to keep all 200 bucks in my wallet. So maybe I'll keep like, 30, 40 bucks in my wallet and the rest I'll deposit at the bank. So you're going to say, well, I'll go to the bank and I will deposit money. You're like, the bank is really safe. The federal government promises that the bank will give you back their money. And the bank says, well, because you're giving us your money, we will guarantee to you that you can get your money whenever you want, get your money, and we will give you interest. So we'll say, you're giving us your money, you don't have to do that. And by giving us your money, that means you can't spend it today, you can't spend it tomorrow. So because you're kind of sacrificing and giving us your money, we'll give you a little bit of interest on it. Then the bank says, well, I've got all this money now, and Mr. Kurth has a medical bill he's got to pay. So he has to borrow money from the bank, take a loan in order to make the payment. So the bank says, all right, Kurth, you can take a loan from us. But the deal with the loan is you need to pay the money back, pay it back, and you have to pay us interest on it. Because we're giving you the money today, and you're going to pay it back at like the end of the year.
Does it also depend on like the credits that person has?
Yeah. Right, so this would depend on the credit. So if Mr. Kurth has good credit, they would charge him a low interest rate, or they would have a lower interest rate, bad credit, higher interest rate. Joshua.
I think kind of odd how having like bad credit, like a bad credit score, makes it so that you have to pay more money.
Yes,
Even
it
though
did.
you're not showing you're not financially responsible enough to even make a
Yes. But so it's like a risk profile, right? So the bank is like, well, this person has low credit score. Maybe they like defaulted on a loan before, which means like they didn't pay back a loan before. So we're taking a risk giving them money. So we want to charge them a high interest rate. Of course, that's going to make them more likely to default.
Yeah.
In other words, more likely for the bank to lose their money, right? So it is like this catch-22. It's a good point. So now, and the bank makes a profit by doing this. The bank charges Mr. Kurth a higher interest rate than they pay you. That's how banks make money. They give you less interest than they get from the person who they make a loan to. It's that simple. That's how banks make money. So right now what we want to focus on is right here. This right here. So you've gone to the bank and you've made your deposit. And the bank says, okay, we're going to give you interest. And the bank says there are two ways we'll give you interest. So one way is called continuous compounding. And one way is called discrete compounding. So the bank says you can pick which way you want. You can either have discrete or compounding. This is actually not what happens in real life. They actually tell you what they're going to do. We'll assume for discussion purposes that you can decide. Compounding is just a word that refers to the process by which money grows. So compounding says I start with $100, I get some interest, now I'm up to 110, I get some more interest, I'm up to 125, get some more interest, I'm up to 200, and so on and so on. Compounding is the process of interest coming into an account and money being added. So the word like means the same thing, obviously, both places. So the bank says there are two different ways we can decide how to give you interest. So the first way is you give us $100 today. A month from now, we'll give you $110, so 10% interest. The next month, we'll give you another 10%. The next month, we'll give you another 10%. The next month, we'll give you another 10%, and so on and so on. So monthly. Or the bank could say, I'll give you 10% this week, I'll give you 10% the next week, 10% the next week, 10% the next week, the next week. So they could give it weekly. Or they could say, I'll give you 10% today, 10% tomorrow, 10% the next day, so daily. Or they could say, I'll give you 10% for this quarter, so this 3 months. Then I'll give you 10% the next 3 months, 10% for the next quarters. They give it quarterly. Or they could just say, I'll give you 10% for the year. I'll give you one time 10%. So discrete compounding, one second for now. Discrete compounding means that interest is added at specific intervals. Monthly, daily, weekly, yearly, semi-yearly, which means twice a year, blah, blah, blah. Fernando.
So when you're saying that they add like 10% every week, they're adding like to the amount of interest, for example, like 10 and then 20%.
No. So it's like this. So what happens is the following. It's like I start with 100. At the end of month one, I have $110. They gave me 10% of 100 is $10. Now they say, okay, I'll give you 10% of this. 10% of this is $11. So now I have 121.
So it stays as 10%.
Yeah, 10% of whatever you have every month, or 10% of whatever you have every week, or every day, or every year. Yeah.
But that 10% you have to pay it back at some point.
No.
Then banks in a way are just losing money.
Right, but they've taken your money and given it to Kurth, and they tell Kurth, give us 20% back. They only give you 10%, they get 20 from Kurth, there's their profit. That's exactly how banks work. There's literally how they make their money every single day of the week. I mean, they do some other like more complicated things, but basically this. Matthew.
One ends up being the winner if you don't ask for loans from the bank.
Yeah. So it's ideal to just put your money in the bank and like never take a loan. But we all like need loans. We buy a house, buy a car, for the medical expenses, unforeseen things. I think.
So in a sense, they're paying you to let other people borrow.
Yes. The bank is paying you to give them your money, and then they will do whatever they want with it. Give it out to other people. Michelle.
So what if the bank charges you like 12? Like with my bank, if I don't have $500 in my bank account, I get charged $12.
So that's a fee for a minimum balance. That's something totally different. So banks are like smart. They're like so a bank is like, we would rather have you give us more money than less, because if you give us more money, we can make more loans. So that's why they're like, we want to charge a penalty for people who have a minimum who are too low. So they want people to put more money in.
Every bank has like a unique like do a different times like nothing.
Right. Yeah. Exactly. Daniel.
So like, what is like the bank? That's like the bank can lose money, right?
The bank can lose money, and they did in 2008 when. So a lot of banks made loans to individuals who bought a house. And then the house was, like the value of the house went down. So people owed more money than the house was worth. So I take $10 loan to buy this pen. Okay? Tomorrow, I can go sell the pen for $11. So what happened? I took $10 from you, Daniel. I bought the pen. Then I go sell it to Norma for $11. I pay your $10 back. I make $1. You're happy as the bank, Norma's happy she got her pen, and I'm happy I made my money. Now imagine what happens if this. I take $10 from you to buy the pen, but then the pen only becomes worth $1. So Norma buys it for $1, she's happy she got her pen, I'm in trouble. I owe you $10, but I only have $1 for the pen. That's what happened in 2008, except on a much bigger scale. We borrowed $100,000 from you to buy a house, the house is only worth $20,000 now. We just lost $80,000 as an individual, and the bank lost $80,000 because nobody paid their loans back. That's what happened in 2008.
This has more related to bank situations than like what we're doing. But
Yes.
when I was working, there would be people that come and they would just like buy things separately with one correct debit card because they say at the end of the month if they don't use it a certain amount of times,
Yeah. So
they get charged. So
yeah, so some banks say you have to have blank transactions per month. And if you don't have blank transactions, they're gonna charge you a fee.
Okay. And what happens if the bank just goes bankrupt?
So this is what happened in 1928 with the Great Depression, right? The banks went bankrupt. Everybody's like, I want my money. Banks have no money left. So Franklin Roosevelt passed the FDIC, Federal Deposit Insurance Corporation, which says up to $500,000. If you have a $500,000 or less in a bank, and the bank fails, the U.S. government will give you the money, guaranteed. No, like you don't even have to ask a question. So if I have my money at Chase or Bank of America, and tomorrow Bank of America goes bankrupt, I can go to the U.S. government, say, hey, I need my money, they'll give me my money.
And it's like per account.
But you have to have $500,000.
Or less.
Oh,
They
okay.
have a million.
Daniel, Josh.
But like, okay, if the bank goes bankrupt and you don't have your money, where does the money go? Like, where is the money?
So what has probably happened is this. You gave the bank money, and the bank gave the money to Mr. Kurth. He never paid it back. So now they didn't get the money back, so they can't give you your money back. Because it's all tied up with Kurth. He didn't pay it back. This is what happened in 2008, and this is what happened in 1928. People that took loans and didn't pay the money back, for whatever reason it might be. I hope in economics classes you'll discuss this more. I don't know. Maybe you will. I don't know how this school works. Okay, Josh.
And that isn't $500,000. That's per account.
That's per account. Yeah. So what a lot of like very, very wealthy individuals do is they'll have like 500,000 in Bank of America, 500,000 in Chase, 500,000 at Wells Fargo, so that they can be insured on every single one. Yeah.
that's what they do.
All right. So here we go. So those are like really good questions. Discrete compounding, continuous. So continuous compounding, as you might have guessed, is instead of discrete, where it's like every month, every day, every week, every year, twice a year, continuous is every second. Like the money is just you're continuously getting interest. 10% right now, 10% right now, 10% right now, 10% right now. It's never actually as high as 10%, by the way. It's very low, like 0.01%. But continuous compounding is the interest comes in every second. Interest added, like literally, I mean, not even like second, like it's just continuously being added.
Every millisecond.
Then it'll just say like for 3 years you're getting money continuously. Javier.
That's fine. But for the bank, what if we solve the like basically kind of like the
We get